Bonsoir tout le monde. Et merci d'être que nous rejoignons nous là dans l'autre épisode Strive 305 en créole. Créole parler, créole comprendre. Nous avons un bel invité avec nous aujourd'hui qui va parler de un paquet de dossiers dans la communauté. Mais avant que je m'arrive là, je m'introduis nous à co-host moi, Naed Jasmin. Naed.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Encore un plaisir pour nous avec nous aujourd'hui dans l'autre émission Strive 305 en créole. Et aujourd'hui, nous avons invité que moi très content introduit Pascale. Moi pense que nous rencontrés ça fait quand même presque 2 ans parce qu'il était participé dans le programme 3 ans ouais il était participé dans le programme Scale Up 305 pour être capable justement dans la période que tu as monté business li et il y a opportunité pour non seulement que les membres chambre mais lui-même tout lui participer dans compétition business speech competition que ACOF fait ça fait 3e édition qui s'est passée et donc je pense que ça fait 2e fois que Pascal participé lui pas gagné donc n'a espéré qu'année prochaine l'a participer encore mais Pascal c'est un docteur dans santé publique donc il gagne un doctorat dans santé publique et il gagne plus passé 15 années expérience à travailler dans secteur ça dans le gouvernement et puis tout ça fait 3 ans que il fait propre compagnie PAL Health Equity Innovation côté que justement il a accompagné différentes organisations pour aider eux justement mettre en place tout ça qui est nécessaire pour que la communauté soit capable en santé, non seulement question santé physique, mais santé économique et puis bien-être général communauté. Donc, je dis à Pascal avec nous allons comprendre puis plus travail que lui a fait dans la communauté et nous allons apprendre puis plus tout sur le bel monde que lui est.
Oui, bel monde, effectivement. Mais avant que nous arrivions dans tout le travail que vous avez fait dans la communauté, parlez-moi de vous, Pascal. Bon 3 mots qui t'a peut-être décrit.
Oui, merci. Thank you for having me here this afternoon. 3 mots m'ka décrit tête moi c'est déterminé, passionné et puis m'gain intégrité.
Yes. Il passionné, il déterminé et puis il y a un peu intégrité.
Oui.
Parlez-nous de qui valeur que par exemple que ou même qui est important dans tout ça que vous fait dans la vie ou que ce soit dans le travail ou que ce soit dans la vie personnelle ou qui 3-4 valeurs que vous pensez qui est extrêmement important pour vous.
Oui. So ma parler en anglais pour ça.
La anglais, la créole, jon confortable.
So pour moi même depuis petit justice is very important to me. Making sure that, everyone has the things that they need in order to live, a successful well-being. And I think that was imparted. I grew up in North Miami Beach, so I had a lot of Jewish teachers, right? And because of their background, they taught me about the Holocaust. But eventually, when I got to middle school, I wanted to know about the Black experience, right? And so I think that's what really opened up my interest into justice work and racial equity work. So that's the first thing that's really important to me. And then also, I think equity also goes line in line with justice, right? So not only making sure that we have justice, that we live in a just world, but also making sure that we level the playing field for people from all different types of backgrounds, whether or not that's racial, economics, gender identity, you name it, but making sure that the playing field is level for everyone to have an equal opportunity to have live a good life on this earth. And you said 4?
Whichever. If you're comfortable.
And maybe the last one would be, I guess, love. I mean, what would a world be without love? And I think that's also the foundation of justice and equity. Because once you have if you live a life that's filled with love, or that where love is the foundation of everything, it's easier to create a just and an equitable world for everyone.
Okay, so Pascal se dit que l'amour, équité, justice, c'est des valeurs qui sont vraiment extrêmement importantes pour lui. Et depuis qu'il a grandi, justement, il était apprendre valeurs ça à travers justement professeur.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things that I want you to talk about is what public health is exactly. Because I think there's often a lot of confusion, and people, even myself, we don't necessarily always understand what it all entails. So talk to me a little bit more about that and what brought you into that field.
Sure. So I'm going to speak to it like I used to speak to my college students, right? So public health speaks to like the prevention, like how do we prevent people from getting ill or sick, right? And then I'm just going to compare it to medicine, where medicine is like where you treat. So I'm already sick. What are the medicines and the treatment that I need in order to make you better, right? And so when we talk about public health on the prevention side of things, it could be like as simple as like nutrition education, physical activity, the things that you need in order to like live a healthy life. But also think about the air you breathe, right? The air quality is another thing, water quality, like everything, like literally everything that we have around us encompasses public health. If you go into the hospital, like, maternal and child health, so they're treating, right? But how do we, what are the studies being done in order to ensure that, Black women, for example, their health while giving birth is, of like the utmost importance, and how do we make sure that we're providing culturally competent healthcare services to, Black women in public health. So, or Black women in, maternal and child health, providing cultural competent health care for Black women who are bringing forth babies. So to speak about how I got to public health, so I'm Haitian, of course, right?
Yes.
So the three things I could become growing up were either a lawyer, an engineer, or a medical doctor, right? And so I chose medical doctor. I was so passionate about it, too. Like, my mom would have me in the kitchen, and I'd be, like, looking at the bones of the chicken and identifying the parts and everything. But then, fast forward, I went to Florida State for college, and I started taking, those hard sciences like organic chemistry, and I'm like, Lord God, like, there is no way. No way I see myself getting into medical school, with these classes, right? But I ended up graduating with my bachelor's in biological sciences. And I like to always say that public health found me, because I didn't really know. A lot of people, high school, even up into college, they don't know what public health is because we're not taught about public health. And that's something that public health needs to do a better job of, is like, really introducing people earlier on to what public health is. But after I graduated, I ended up getting a job with the Agency for Healthcare Administration. Didn't know what it was. It was just a job for me. And it was literally at the bottom of the totem pole, because I was at their call center. And, I started learning more about, like, public health, right? And so I worked there for, like, 2 years. And then I was just like, I think this is for me, because I realized I was doing public health work not knowing, through like a healthcare sorority that I was part of in college. And let me know when you want me to pause.
No, you're good. Go. You're good.
And
We're good here.
I was doing like the health education and the seminars at Florida State and everything. And I was just like, I think this is for me. So literally enrolled in one school, FAMU. I was accepted, and there was like literally no turning back. And I think like what really solidified my interest in public health is like my first semester at FAMU, I took a community organizing for community health. Class with Dr. Yvette Lopez. And we were literally, half the course was like in class, and then half the course was like outside in the community. And I just fell in love with it, because it was more so being in the community and like empowering community members to identify solutions to their health issues and everything. And I was just like, okay, God, this is for me. This is what I want. And I haven't turned back since.
Oh, I love that.
So tell us now, how do you start your career like in public health, and then now you decide to go on your own and create your company and start like your entrepreneurial journey. So tell us a little bit more about that. And I know that the name of your company is Health Equity Innovation. Along the way, can you also explain what does that mean, health equity?
Yeah, most definitely. So kind of to speak to like, my, I guess, career trajectory, I started off working with the health department, the local health department in Sarasota in Manatee County, so south of Tampa. So I spent about like 6 years working in both of those local health departments, doing all types of work from like community health improvement plans, community health assessments. I also work with like what we call like community health action teams. And with those community health action teams, literally I was kind of like the liaison for the health department, working with communities to identify issues that they wanted to address. So like some of the issues that I worked with communities to address included food access and security. So there's like this one historically Black community in Sarasota, called Newtown. Right. And so we worked on food access. And I love that job when I first started, because I brought like my experience working with nonprofit organizations in Tallahassee to Sarasota. Right. And so I got to work with youth who were like advocating for, healthier, access to healthier foods in Newtown. And so I worked with like the Hard Knock group at Robert L. Taylor Community Center. And I remember one of the things that I, most recall is organizing the inaugural Building Healthy Communities Symposium in Sarasota, where I bought like all of my different partners that I had, built rapport with from Orlando to Tallahassee. And I brought them all together just to highlight the work that they were doing to advance food insecurity, or, access to healthy foods in their communities. So I did that I worked in Sarasota for 3 years, and then another 3 years in Manatee County. In Manatee County, I was doing work addressing like maternal and child health, like breastfeeding, as well as like doing worksite wellness work. So Manatee County at the time, and it still might be, had like the school district was their largest employer, right? So I'd work with them doing workshops around like, how to make sure that your employees are well and what programming you can provide, and helping them set up their programming. So did that for the health departments for about 6 years. And then from there, I wanted to move up. But if you're familiar with Florida's system, it's kind of hard to move up within the Florida Department of Health. So I decided to leave, and I went to work for Manatee County government, where I was their like inaugural healthcare services program manager. And with that, I was over about $2 million of county funding focused on improving the mental health and substance abuse programs for those residents in Manatee County. Then the pandemic hit, and the politics are kind of weird here in Florida. So I left, born and raised in Miami. I left, and I went and taught for a year, of all places, in Iowa. I taught intro to public health classes, exactly, Iowa. Yeah, raised in Iowa.
I'm like, Iowa?
Yes,
We're
ma'am.
going to get into that
Iowa. And I taught for public health courses for about a year in Iowa. Iowa brought me back home to Miami, because I never planned on coming back. And I ended up working with still work with a national nonprofit organization here that provides technical support and capacity building assistance to state health departments throughout the country, or throughout the U.S. So all of that to say, how did I land with Health Equity Innovations? So I recognized earlier on, within a year of my career, I recognized that there were issues as far as how we worked in communities of color, right? And so while my job was to help communities of color identify health issues, and identify solutions to those health challenges within their communities, often what I saw was that those communities were used to push along the agenda of government entities like the health departments, but not necessarily address the issues that they wanted to address, right? And I distinctly remember this one time where I had to advocate on behalf of, a community I was working with, to my boss, because my boss was like, okay, well, we need to make sure that we're meeting this. And I'm like, we can't meet it because we haven't met their needs yet. We have to meet them halfway. And so that was like kind of the light that went on for me. Like, you can push and push, but it's like you're bumping your head against a wall, because it's government.
Yeah. I guess that probably brings me into my next question is, in this field, I think one of the biggest issues is that a lot of people don't necessarily understand it or understand the need for it. So, but what other hurdles or barriers have you experienced in that? And then how do you overcome those challenges? Because not everybody necessarily understands why health equity is important to their community, so how do you get them to understand that? And then how do you deal with those challenges?
Yeah. So, one, just to kind of explain what health equity means, right? And health equity really means giving people the thing that they need in order to succeed, right? And just to kind of put it visually, right? You can have like three individuals, like a tall, a medium height, and a short individual, right? And they're at a baseball game, right? And they want to see the baseball game happening, but there's this fence. And so the short individual, the fence is blocking them from seeing, what's happening on the baseball field. And the same thing for the medium height individual, but the tall individual has an advantage where they can see what's happening on the baseball field. So we need to give both the short person and the medium height individual boxes so that they can stand up on where they can see what's actually going on in the baseball field. So that's what I mean by like giving people the things that they need in order to succeed in life, as far as like their health and well-being, right? So I think one of the challenges, if I can kind of speak to the political world that we're living in right now, is that health equity, I think we live in a time where health equity, or just the word equity, has been deemed bad, right? Where it's like only for people of color or, people with different gender identities and what have you, but it isn't. Everyone benefits from equity, right? And here's an example that I'll share, like, when I talked about public health being, all over, it's like, for example, with air quality, right? One of the things you'll consistently find in like studies is that historically, Black communities or Hispanic communities, 9 times out of 10 will have poorer air quality, right? But if you look at how air travel, if you look at air travels, right? So if the neighboring community is like a predominantly white community, affluent community, they're also affected by poor air quality, right? So that's like an example of saying, like, if we were to fix the poor air quality issues in,
this area,
exactly, in Black and brown communities, white affluent communities would also benefit. So like health equity isn't just about brown and Black communities, it's about all of us. And then when you talk about health equity as well, it also speaks to the economics, right? Not all, white people are affluent or have money, there are poor, white people who, talk about, even thinking about like what's going on with Obamacare right now, right? And the subsidies, right? If you look at who's getting those subsidies, it's not just Black and brown people. So if we're talking about equity, white people who are lower income living in rural communities also benefit from equity too. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are a lot of challenges, right now, and there's a lack of understanding and lack of education in that area. So I think it's really important. That's why I keep harping on getting you to explain it a little bit, because I want to understand it. So you do all of these things, and they're fantastic, and we absolutely need equity. We can all agree on that. How do you make this and take all of the information, all the stuff that you know, and how do you turn it into a business? What does your business do?
Exactly. That was my question.
So sorry, Naed. Here's the answer.
Yeah, I want to know.
Let me know. Let me know to get back on track if I do.
You got it. You're good.
You're good. You're doing good.
So with Health Equity Innovations, also doing business is PPE, Public Health Consulting, given the climate that we're in. So some of the services that I provide include like health education, right? So if there's like a particular topic, let's say for example heart health, that you want to do a seminar or workshop on, I can come in, create what that agenda or that curriculum looks like, and present for you too. If that's the case, we also do program development as well as program evaluation, right? So if you have like, I don't know, for example, a healthy eating program or nutrition-based program that you want to evaluate the impacts of, that's something that I can also come in and help support with creating a evaluation report. Because what I find, or what I'm finding, is that 9 times out of 10, especially nonprofits of color, they don't necessarily have like the people, the staff, or the capacity to do all the things to make them stand out, right? So I come in and I provide that, additional support or capacity building that they need in order to make sure that they shine as like, a small nonprofit. In addition to the health program or the program development and evaluation, there's also strategic planning. So I can also do that. I also do that, provide that service for nonprofits. But in addition to nonprofits, also like, corporate and faith-based organizations as well. In addition to grant writing, everybody likes money, right?
But needs money. in order to impact.
Exactly. And so in order to get those grants and those funding, you have to make sure that your grant application stands out so that the funders know that you're about business, you've had impact in the community, and that the money that they'll provide you with will continue to have sustainable impact in the community as well. I think that's, health education, program development and evaluation, strategic planning, and grant writing. Yes.
M'aimais ça présenter parce que je pense que en pile fois surtout dans la communauté haïtienne il y a un pile monde qui gagne organisation non-profit. Cependant je pense que difficulté que yo gagne de manière générale en Haïti c'est gestion de données. Ça veut dire que là comme si vous travaillez dans la communauté il y a une équipe d'information pour que vous même vous collecter qui pourra permettre que là qu'on est va présenter information doit chercher grant doit chercher support que capable ouais effectivement mais qui impact que moi fait dans la communauté et en pile fois j'en dit non profit ça yo pas gain aucun monde qui capable identifier qui indicateur qui s'en a cherché, qui donné pour nous collecter, comment pour nous conserver données ça et comment pour nous utiliser données ça qu'on y a pour nous justement nous capable utiliser comme levier pour nous capable joindre plus l'argent pour le travail que nous à faire. Donc ça que ou même on fait comme travail dans compagnie parlant c'est justement venir by organisation ça yo coûte mais pour capable design OK qui qualité de données que supposé à track et qui qualité de supposé à collecter pour justement yo capable gain plus impact et pour yo capable joindre justement l'autre partenaire avec l'autre funding. OK devait dire en créole pour plus l'autre monde comprendre nous connaît l'autre bagaille ou fait ou aider ou faire planification stratégique ou aider créer design tout programme parce que gain de fois ou gain vision mais ou pas gain expertise avec compétences qui nécessaires pour capable mettre camper programme qui matcher avec vision organisation que vous gagnez donc ou même c'est là que vous venez avec expertise pour supporter travail que organisation ça doit faire. Donc c'est ça que je voulais faire pour les gens qui écoutent nous en créole, je voulais nous comprendre exactement ça que madame n'a fait. Madame n'a c'est un expert, OK? Travail vraiment très technique mais vraiment nécessaire tout pour nous-mêmes qui voulons avoir un impact dans le travail que nous fait dans la communauté.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the areas that we have trouble with, whether it be nonprofit organizations or even businesses, when we collect data and how to use that data, you know, and that's something that we I mean, even us, like that's something that we take for granted. It's like, oh yeah, I know those numbers, you know, but it's like collecting the data, showing the trends, showing how it works and why it's successful or what kind of impact. And those numbers can really help you determine how you're going to change your program or grow your program.
Absolument. And I want to present like the next activity that we're going to have at the chamber. And we're actually going to have Pascale at our next Lunch and Learn series.
No way.
Series, yes. Anthony, would you put just like the flyer for the Lunch and Learn for us? Not this one, the next one. So we are going to have Pascale, Mabdi en créole. Pascale a vini, ça c'est dernier Lunch and Learn que nous pourrons gagner pour année à COF avec Chase Bank qui fait activité ça. Et dans dernier temps ça nous avons toujours voulu inviter un autre monde dans la communauté pour les capable partager avec nous expertise li. Et pour ça que nous te relé Pascale pour les capable faire présentation ça, c'est parce que justement business nous pas connait qui gens pour nous utiliser données pour nous capable prendre décision pour nous capable grandir puis plus pour nous capable même redéfinir comment nous bailler service ou bien comment nous toucher comme si clientèle noire. Donc Pascale a là avec nous le 19 novembre après présentation que nous avons gagné de business consultant dans Chiseland, nous avons gagné Pascale qui pourra parler nous de building better business with data. Données important pour construire business ou pour développer business ou pour connaître qui service pour bail pour connaître qui est soit servi. Donc nous vraiment inviter viennent participer avec nous dans le dernier Lunch and Learn que nous avons gagné pour l'année. Nous avons bien mangé ensemble, nous avons bien fêté ensemble, nous avons bien network ensemble et nous sommes capables de voir, monsieur, que Pascale a nous bon genre d'informations que nous-mêmes nous sommes capables d'appliquer dans le business. Nous.
Absolument. Mais avant que nous finissions avec Pascale, je dis, nous avons un paquet de questions que nous allons mettre dans Rapid Fire pour nous connaître un petit peu plus de business et puis ou même tout. So, I'm going to do them in English. Are you a coffee or tea person in the morning?
Definitely a tea person.
I knew that one.
Are you a morning or night person?
I think I might be both.
How is that possible? How do you function, and what energy drinks do you have? Because I need some of those.
I think it depends. I'm going to say I'm mostly a morning person. Before everyone wakes up, I like the quiet. And I live with my parents, so I definitely like the quiet. Yes. So mostly a morning person, but when I have to be, I can be a night person just to...
Okay.
Yeah.
Just get those things through.
Exactly.
All right. We always ask about books. I know you're a doctor. You've probably read a million of them. But give me like 2 that have had a significant impact on your life.
So besides the Bible, right? So the 2 that I will say include The Sum of Us by Heather McGhee. And she really talks about, into equity, right? She talks about the historical examples of what equity looks like from the pools and Black people not being able to, participate in pools and everything to the air quality. So that's one book. And then another book that I think everyone should read includes it's See No Stranger by Valerie Kaur. And it talks about everything that was happening before 9/11 with the Sikh community. I don't know if you Mm-hmm. And then she also progresses from the Sikh community to the Muslim community and post 9/11. But I think the thing that she really stresses is for us to see people as human, and to try to understand where they're coming from. Hence the title, See No Stranger. Everyone has a story. Why are they like this? And it's hard. It speaks to empathy, right? Putting yourself in the shoes of your oppressor, for lack of a better word. And it really does take God to think that way. But I think that was a very impactful book that I've read.
It's funny because a lot of people don't know that the Sikh community came to Haiti after the earthquake and did a lot of food distributions. Yes, when I lived in Haiti, I worked with them after the earthquake. We did food distributions, they cooked, and they were out there in the community helping out after the earthquake.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So tell me, what is one advice that someone gave you and that really impacted your life?
That's a deep one. Ooh, okay, Naed, you got me with that one.
Take your time, breathe.
Should I just do the Jeopardy music?
No, because then I'm going to take forever. I think one... Okay, I'm going to reference Dr. Marvette Lacey, and she was my dissertation coach. You have enough, you are enough, and I forget the other enough, but you have enough, you are enough, and you know enough, right? And I think for me that spoke to just dealing with imposter syndrome, right? Because you always think you always need this one other thing in order to do the thing, right? But it's no, God gave you all the gifts, all the talents that you need in order to, do the thing that he's called you to do. So recognize that you have enough, you are enough, and you know enough, and just do it and not let imposter syndrome kind of creep in and deter you from, I guess, what your vocational or life purpose might be.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that. I think a lot of times on this show we talk about walking in your purpose, and that's something that's extremely important, and we're so grateful that you came. I know Naed has a ton of announcements. Maybe not a ton, but she definitely has announcements.
I do have a last question for you.
Yeah.
So how do you see yourself in health equity innovation in 5 years, and how can people find you if they need your services?
Yeah, so in 5 years, I'd like to at least be at the national level where people know us on a national scale as, the provider of capacity building and technical assistance services to nonprofits and government entities, as well as corporate entities as well. And then I'd really love to tap into the faith-based community. That's been something that's been on my heart because we have health ministries, right?
Yeah.
But how, are the health ministries as comprehensive as they could be? And that kind of takes me back to working in the church, right? And setting up a health ministry and making sure that it's comprehensive and doing the needs assessment and all that, right? So I'd love to tap into, the health ministries. So I think that's like my vision for the next 5 years. And how can you contact me? So you can contact me via Instagram at PDE Public Health Consulting, all one word. And then also the website too, the same thing, PDE Public Health Consulting. And I'm also on LinkedIn too. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Pascale. And Konya, avant nous aller, m'bral parler nous de plusieurs activités que nous pas de rater pour reste mois novembre qui a passé. Donc premièrement, Anzoni a fait nous allons commencer avec MBF, Miami Bayside Foundation, qui gagne activité ça que li a fait spécifiquement pour communauté haïtienne. Parce que, en pile fois, nous avons des formations en espagnol, en anglais. C'est pas parce que nous ne parlons pas anglais, non, mais les n'a fait en créole, nous encore plus bien comprendre. Donc, nous avons des experts qui sont avec nous. Nous avons Candice qui est avec nous parce qu'ils sont experts en question marketing, qui est là. Nous avons experts en question légale, nous avons experts en question comptabilité, nous avons experts tout en question intelligence artificielle ou pas de derrière ou doit assurer que business ou en tant que wap vivre là, li intégrer intelligence artificielle pour capable plus efficace. Donc sous pot ko inscrit, fait ça rapide parce que c'est 2 jours, vendredi ça avec samedi ça que activité ça li a fait. Next one, nous avons gagné, j'aime te annoncer nous tout à l'heure, nous avons gagné Breakfast and Learn. Ça, c'est activité que Chambre haïtiano-américaine de commerce nous toujours fait dernier vendredi du mois à cause de Thanksgiving. Nous fait un petit peu plus bonheur. Donc, 21 novembre, 8h30 AM. Vin prendre café avec nous. Ou te mettre la caillou, ou dans le travail, ou bien ou conduit, connecté parce que c'est sous Zoom li a fait. Et nous avons un panel extraordinaire. Côté que yo pral montrer qui gens intelligence artificielle capable de transformer business ou avec la vie ou tout. Donc, connecté, ou capable scanner QR code là et puis ou inscrit pour recevoir lien Zoom nan. Sou pas connaît, sou pas getan fait ça, connecté avec nous sur website nous, relais nous, email nous et n'a voyer lien pour. Et next bagay que nous gagnons, donc année a fini, nous en décembre, tout le monde a envie de amuser tout, donc nous avons gagné brunch que nous faisons chaque année dans la chambre pour nous amuser nous ensemble. Donc ça sont activités relax, côté wap network, wap manger, n'a fait intéressante, tout le monde en blanc, ok, et puis nous avons gagné petit jour avec nous. Donc ça c'est 14 décembre 2025, nous capables de joindre ticket yo sous Eventbrite, ok, al courir acheter ticket nous connaît parce que prix au bas pour l'instant, membre yo gon prix spécial pour yo et puis inviter l'autre monde venir participer avec nous pour bien un bon temps ensemble. Merci tout le monde. Moi passer micro à Candice, est-ce qu'on va ajouter un bagay?
Non,
bon cadeau spécial pour quel monde?
Mais si nous intéressés à venir dans le show, voyons un petit message pour nous, suivez-nous sur Strive 305 en Kreyòl sur IG et puis nous nous semaine prochaine avec l'autre invité. Merci.